So we've got mixed greens, and we've got onions, and we've got carrots, and cauliflower, and turnips, and lettuce, and we've even got Brussels sprouts, rainbow chard, and kale. And finally, some broccoli. And to complete this portion of our garden, today we're gonna add some sweet corn. So this area right here, if you watch some of our previous videos, is where we had a really nice lush stand of crimson clover. Then we turned our chickens in on that, let the chickens eat the clover, add some manure to the ground, and we've got some nice friable, good soil here. I've only tilled this twice to till that clover in, and I came over it with the wheel hoe one time and got some nice dirt, fairly firm, not too fluffy. Be really good for planting corn in it today. As you can see, there's basically no weeds out here. That clover really suppresses the weeds, gives me a good stale weed seed bed for planting this corn. So when you're planting corn, whether it be sweet corn or field corn, you always want to plant it in a square plot. You never want to plant it in a long rectangular plot. Corn is wind pollinated. So when those tassels start forming on the top of those corn stalks, that's the male flower or the pollen, and that's going to pollinate those female flowers or the ears, the silks on the ears. So you maximize that pollination by planting in a square as opposed to a long rectangle to get good pollination results, and we always try to do that. So the first thing we're going to do, as always, is lay our drip tape. Now we're not going to put any compost down in these furrows here because this soil has been well amended from that clover and them chickens. But as far as drip tape on corn goes, like my good buddy Ryan Ziegler says,
I probably won't ever grow corn again without putting it on drip tape.
And we agree with Ryan completely. I promise you, if you've never grown corn on drip tape and you try it 1 year, you'll grow the best corn you've ever grown, without a doubt. I've never talked to anybody who's transitioned from overhead corn watering to drip tape who hasn't had better results. So if you can, definitely give it a try. So we got our drip tape down. I know we kind of cut those segments for the final edit of the video, but it really only takes about 15 minutes to lay several rows of drip tape. We're going to plant 6 rows of corn today, so that's how many rows of tape we laid. With our garden seeder here, because it has this disc furrow opener, we can plant right on top of that drip tape and don't have to worry about puncturing it. It works really awesome. So it's a really good system to have for corn. So as far as sweet corn goes, there's kind of 3 different categories that they can fall into. Those categories are based on the gene that's present in those corn varieties, and those genes contribute qualities of sweetness and storage ability. So the 3 categories are based on how sweet it is, how long it stores after harvest. So those 3 categories are SU, which means it has the SU gene. Those are your standard varieties, your older varieties of sweet corn, like your Silver Queen. The next one is called SE, which stands for Sugary Extender. And those include varieties like Ambrosia, which we're going to plant today. Those are a little sweeter than the standard varieties, and they can store a little longer, anywhere from 2 to 4 days in a cold storage. And then the last one is the SH2 gene, which includes the super sweet corn varieties like your extra tenders, stuff like that. Those are even sweeter than the SE varieties, and they can store, people say, up to 10 days. We've never grown the super sweets. We've always grown the SU variety of Silver Queen, and lately we've been trying the SE varieties like this Ambrosia here. So before we plant anything in the garden, especially corn, we always want to test it through the seeder, make sure we've got the right seed plate, make sure we don't need to modify the seed plate. Now this here Ambrosia, you can see here, is a little smaller than the SU varieties like the Silver Queen. And it seems like the sweeter you go with corn varieties, the smaller the seeds get. Some of those super sweet varieties are smaller than this, and they're really shriveled. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our number 4 plate, which is our sweet corn plate, and we're gonna first just test it with this standard hole size here, how it comes delivered to you. And then we're going to see if we need to modify that. We'll run some seeds through here and see if it jams, clogs up anything, and we'll be able to tell if we need to make any modifications. So I put my number 4 seed plate in there, which has 4 holes in it, which means you take 19 inches divided by 4. That's going to give you a little over 4-inch spacing. We're going to put our cone in here, and our brush, and then our wing nut. You never want to tighten this too tight. That's probably good right there, just when it touches that plate. And now I'm going to dump just a few seeds in here. And what I'm going to do is I've got the seeder up on the kickstand so I can spin this back wheel freely. So I'm going to take this cap that usually covers the hopper. I'm going to stick it here under the seed drop tube to catch those seeds. And I'm going to spin this back wheel here and just see how my seeds flow through there. So this Ambrosia variety works perfect with this stock number 4 plate. Now that is not always the case. With varieties like Silver Queen, that hole was probably too small. You might have to make it bigger. With some of the super sweet varieties, that corn, that hole is probably too big, and you're going to get a lot of doubles and some clogging. So you maybe need to take a blank plate and drill some smaller holes. So always check that and be flexible in being able to modify that plate to fit what variety you're planting. That will go a long way towards your success you're going to have when using this seeder here. So if we look at our depth gauge here, you see that little small hole, that is a 1/4 inch. This larger spot here, if it aligns with that, that's 1 inch, and then up here would be 1.5 inches. So I'm going to set it at about 3/4 of an inch. So you just set it to where your gauge is level with that frame there where you want it. And about right there should be good. So we've got 6 rows of corn to plant. I've got my corn rows spaced 2.5 feet or 30 inches apart. Usually the standard with corn is 30 inches or 36 inches, which is 3 feet. In the past, I have experimented and tried 2 feet apart, but that's just too close, and what happens is you get too much foliage and the pollen can't fall down to those ears. So I would not recommend trying 2 foot spacing. Stick with 30 or 36 inch spacing. So all we do now is put our drip fittings on, hook that up, and we'll let the drip run and water that corn seed to get it germinated. The only things we've got really left to plant this spring are squash, cucumbers, and some okra, which okra is usually the last thing we plant. So thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions about corn or planting corn, sweet corn or field corn, let us know in the comments below. Also, feel free to comment and tell us what your favorite variety of corn is. You might know of a variety we haven't tried yet that we want to try next year. If you're interested in any of the products in this video, you can always find those in the description below.